According to the internet, screens are ruining our lives. Phones are apparently bad. Social media is bad. Gaming's bad. But when I actually look at how it's used, I think the real problem isn't screen time. It's what we're doing with them. Screens are not inherently bad. They're necessary for a lot of people's work or tasks, and generally good for entertainment. Obviously, too much of anything is bad, and you have to know when to stop. Fun fact, dogs don't get the nerve signal from their stomach to stop eating. If you simply set boundaries with how you use it, you will be better off than the dog whose owner doesn't cut off the food supply. Across devices, I can average about 10 hours a day, mostly for this channel and the Boston Trips Instagram, as well as other practical uses. The fact is, the best tools are screen-based. And rather than live like a neo-Luddite with pen and paper, I choose to embrace those tools and utilize them to make my life better. I use my Star Market app to add items to my list when I'm looking through my food schedule on my Numbers app spreadsheet, or simulate the price of a purchase by sending items to the cart and then back to my list. Why would I write down a grocery list on a piece of paper when I can literally save the specific product to the list on the app, see the current price, extra coupons, or if it's in stock in the first place at my home store, or one of the two I'm likely to go by in Boston? Why should I act like all screen time is the work of the Antichrist, when these tools help me look at prices ahead of time and stay on budget? Seriously, those combined tools have been great for me. The day before the last blizzard, I used these to see exactly how much my list would cost. I wrote it down in the spreadsheet on the train ride home. Then, when I walked through the store, I followed the list as close to a T as possible. Unfortunately, I had to swap the pepperoni Elios 3-pack for the 5 cheese because they were out, but it cost the exact same amount. Things like that happen because no tool is perfect anyway, and I don't treat the app's word as gospel. When I got to checkout after turning in the recycling redemption vouchers from cans and bottles I'd redeemed before the main shopping, the total after that and my loyalty discounts came out to exactly what I'd forecasted down to the penny. I was so happy that I'd stuck to my budget. It did also take a little willpower to avoid impulse purchases under the rationale of Blizzard treats. But thanks to those apps, I stayed precisely on budget. All thanks to screen-based tools adding to my screen time. Comment if you think pen and paper would have achieved the exact same result. For all you Pokemon fans, it would have been not very effective. My setup? Super effective! I use the spreadsheets to confirm how much money I have set aside for renewals and such, and free range money for weekly spending. All of that, and using the spreadsheet formulas to calculate it, requires being in front of a screen. I've done a video explaining that whole process, but I want to say that it's screen time well spent. I thought the technophobes wanted more people to be financially responsible. Here's the hard truth. Doing so requires adding to your screen time. A pen and paper list won't tally up the total cost ahead of time for you, like sending the list to the cart will. As far as I'm concerned, screen-based tools are superior. If an inflated screen time tally is the price of knowing exactly how much it'll cost before I go to the supermarket, then it's a price I'm willing to pay, because screen time itself is not the problem. The problem is doom scrolling. It doesn't achieve anything. It truly is a waste of time. I don't constantly doom scroll on Instagram because I usually get bored of that, believe it or not. I've heard people give it a lot of crap for the Explore page and the home page slipping in accounts you don't follow. But did you know you can set it to following or favorites? Yeah, just tap the logo on the home page in the app and select one of those. Personally, I like the other accounts slipped in there because it lets me find other Boston creators I can follow. But I totally understand if you're not a fan. If you just choose to use one of those and remain mindful of how you use Explore and such, you'll accomplish what you need or want to, and can move on with your life. Doom scrolling doesn't accomplish anything if you're just speeding through content pushed by the almighty algorithm. It doesn't have any of the benefits of a supermarket or spreadsheet app. Unless you're actively creating content and seeking inspiration, like me, it's not screen time well spent, and I totally understand that being an actual problem. It's just a fact of life in 2026. Screen time is unavoidable. If you want to create content, you have to spend more time on screens producing it and consuming those of others for inspiration. If you want to make better, more informed plans, you have to use the necessary apps and websites to access input and evaluate information. Just like my grocery anecdote, you'll have to keep your phone in hand while walking around the store to check your list, like Santa Claus, and make sure what's in the physical cart aligns with what's on the screen. You don't have to spend insane amounts of time on them if you're decisive, something I struggle to be with this. And you certainly shouldn't do anything else on your phone unless you step aside, check what you need to, and then move on. Actually, I was walking around Star Market the other day and there's a woman wearing a headset with a laptop propped up on the cart she was using. She was likely doing remote work, and I couldn't help wondering why she didn't just go shopping during her lunch break or after work. I bring this up to show that context matters. It makes sense to use a phone the way I did with my list on the store's app to stay on task. It does not make sense to prop up a remote work setup on the cart. In fact, I'd argue it's almost as dangerous as driving with that setup on the dashboard. Anyway, if you want to engage in other hobbies away from screens, that's perfectly fine. I've been considering trying painting outside of my Boston trips. You just have to know when to stop scrolling or when to step away from the screen. Like I have discovered lately with my gaming sessions when my brain starts feeling tired, or I feel like I was hitting a roadblock in cases such as the Majora's Mask shooting gallery I like to bring up. Recognize the nerve signals that say, enough, or come up with an external cue, like the dog owner cutting off the dog's food supply because the dog's stomach doesn't send the necessary signal human stomachs send to human brains. Unlike a dog, you have free will, choice, and agency to use screen time as a tool and listen to your brain when you realize there's nothing to be gained from it, rather than succumb to the extremes of being a phone zombie or neo-Luddite. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment your good uses of screen time and how awesome it makes your life. If you want to shout, "Screen time bad!" go ahead. Just understand that if you're watching this video, You just added several minutes to yours, and I think it's hypocritical to diss technology while using it. If you really think pen and paper is superior, my advice is to put your money where your mouth is by abandoning screens entirely, but something tells me you won't. Finally, subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations, which you'll have to take in through a screen. But if you keep your screen time limited, I thank you for using your finite screen time on my videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.